If you ever want a masterclass in bureaucracy, indifference, and institutional arrogance, don't start with a government department. Start with a major bank. That's why criticism of ANZ Bank by federal Labor politician Ed Husic lands so squarely with the public mood. People don't need to be told that something is broken in banking culture. They live it every single time a simple issue turns into weeks of forms, call centres, chatbots, and buck passing. What Husic is really calling out is a system that still doesn't believe it owes customers anything beyond the bare legal minimum. Husic, who is the chair of the Parliamentary Economics Committee, accused ANZ Chair Paul O'Sullivan of being unrepentant over the bank's regulatory failings, and it's hard to argue with that assessment. 6 years on from the Hayne Royal Commission, the same behaviours, the same excuses and the same defensiveness remain fully in view. The weeds are back and no one should be surprised. ANZ insists accountability has been delivered because bonuses were trimmed and incentives were docked. But a former CEO is suing the bank for $13.5 million in unpaid bonuses. That argument collapses pretty quickly. Docking a bonus isn't accountability, it's optics. Real accountability involves leadership, owning cultural failure, not treating penalties as a cost of doing business. Now, Husic's frustration isn't just with the bank, but with the broader system that allows this to keep happening. ANZ copped a record $240 million fine for widespread misconduct and was later bumped up to $250 million by the court. Yet even that was described by the judge as being on the light side. When penalties are just absorbed without genuine consequence, deterrence disappears. Banks don't change behaviour, they just update their spreadsheets. This matters because banking failures don't stay neatly contained in boardrooms. They flow directly through to customers, small businesses and households who are already worn down by complexity and delay. Now, anyone who has tried recently to refinance or resolve a fraud issue or query a charge on a credit card or to navigate hardship support or do something as simple as record a change of address or speak to a real-life human being knows how quickly banks default to process over people. You can follow every rule and still feel like you're being treated as an inconvenience. Now, the ANZ annual general meeting in December 2025 only reinforced that disconnect. Shareholders who raised uncomfortable questions were shut down and rushed along. One described being gobsmacked that board pay was untouched despite systemic failures. The response from the chair that touching board remuneration would be a very dangerous game neatly sums up the problem. Independence in this context seems to mean insulation from scrutiny or consequences. MP Ed Husic's warning about broader social fallout shouldn't be brushed off. When institutions that hold enormous power over everyday life appear to escape accountability, trust erodes. And we've seen overseas where that leads. Public anger doesn't vanish, it mutates. Banks like to talk about rebuilding trust, but trust isn't restored through press releases or token penalties. It's restored when customers are treated with respect, when leadership takes responsibility, and when failure actually hurts at the top, not just at the coalface. Until that happens, for most people, banks will remain the worst bureaucracies they deal with. Powerful, distant, and fundamentally unconcerned with the humans on the other side of the counter. If indeed you can find a counter, because the major banks have closed most of their branches.